Chad is not looking too good, and I could fix it, but I won't. So he's just gonna be there. Hi, I'm Ashley. This is Chad. Yes, this happened. Is it giving Linda Belcher? Is it giving Little Lad? Open to debate in the comments below. Definitely had a moment there. I was trying, you guys don't care about this. I was trying to trim my curtain bangs just on the side, and I did like that fun little twisty thing, you know, that people do, where you like do like this and like ba. And I don't know how I fucked this up, but I fucked it up. And so I got like this one like little strand that was just like this. And like this can't work, right? Right? So I was like, okay, this is, we're doing the full thing. This is happening. Yeah. And also this, because why not? Anyways, hello. So first of all, thank you for all of the love and support on my last video. I didn't expect it to blow up like that. Has the fame gone to my head? Yes, it has. I will try to stay humble, but honestly, like, no promises. I am better than you all. So today, I wanted to take a little trip down memory lane to really like the peak of my personal existence. Remember when it used to just be like uncontroversial, like fact of the universe that J.K. Rowling was the best? Those were the times, huh? Well, when I was 8 years old, I wrote what's basically fan fiction, but what I thought was earnestly like an original work of Harry Potter, where I fully self-inserted myself, copied all of the main plots, stole from some other books as well, but just put myself in and made it better, made it gayer, and it's just like really stuck with me ever since. Like, first of all, I used a pen name because I really wanted to do the Hannah Montana thing and just be an ordinary girl. So I was known as Julian Vinderel. Rolls off the tongue. Also, so part of this book I wrote when I was 8 years old, but then I rediscovered this book when I was 14, which was bad. And I did what I'm basically doing now. I like read through it, had a good laugh, but I was in like this really unfortunate iDubbbz cringe humor phase where I thought that I was really, really funny. And so I wrote the original version belongs to me bitches. And I believe I actually tried to write like basically another chapter onto this book from my 15-year-old self. So there's like a switch in perspective in writing, and I'm not sure exactly when that happens. I'm sure we'll be able to tell, because no way will it be funny. It probably won't even be worth reading, but I was like fully invested in this. I had a little bio. Let's see, what do you need to know about me? Ashley was born in Georgia, true. 1998, later moved to Texas, also true. After her move to Maryland, she wrote many series and stories. She has also been known for tremendous filmmaking. She now lives with her family in Crofton, Maryland. No longer true, but you know, I love that for me. Does this count as tremendous filmmaking? Is this what I'm referring to? I really hope I've lived up to my 8-year-old expectations. I've rambled way too long about this. It is time to read The Secrets Beyond the Magic by Julian Vinderel. I'm gonna come in close because I feel like this is like an intimate experience. Chapter 1, The Beginning. I think it's the beginning, but it's spelled Begginning. Close enough. It was a sunny day in Crofton, Maryland. The sky was blue, and the birds chirped as the wind gently blew. Ashley, Mallory, and Grace played in the fields. They threw frisbees and chased each other and sat in the green grass. They came to Ashley's house laughing and giggling. As they walked inside, her mom was making strawberry smoothies for them. First of all, fantasy 8-year-old me just like lived a better life than I currently do. And of course, Grace and Mallory were friends I had when I was 8 years old, because like, why go through the effort of making original character names, you know? How was it like outside? Ashley's mom asked. It was fun, Grace said, drinking her smoothie. I'm glad you're having fun. That storm really scared you guys last night, said Ashley's mom. A tropical storm had almost blew off the roof, and they had to sleep on the floor in the basement that night. But the weather had gone luckily. As they drank their smoothies, they talked. And so, like, I know why I put that in, because I don't know about you, but I thought tornadoes were going to be a much more relevant part of my life. When I was 8 years old, I was very concerned about any sort of thunderstorm potentially destroying my house. Hasn't happened yet, but I haven't, like, ruled it out. So, that's a little fun fact, little behind the scenes fun fact for you. Anyways, Miss Norton, when is my mom coming back? Mallory asked. Not for another week. You and Grace are still staying here, said Miss Norton. That's good, said Grace. We'll be outside, said Ashley. They came outside and stayed out for an hour. Soon it began to pour. The three friends come inside the house. They walked up to Ashley's large room in the attic. There were 3 beds for each of them. Miss Norton came upstairs and gave them warm chili and a glass of milk. No, thank you. That's a big no for me. As they ate their food, they stared out the window. Then the strangest thing happened. A figure appeared in the pouring rain. The girls couldn't quite see his face. Who is he? Asked Mallory. I don't know, answered Grace. He stood there for a minute, waiting for something to happen. Then Miss Norton came out and walked up to the figure. She had a wand like his. They soon wandered away. The girls ran downstairs to find 4 letters for them. This scene, I can tell, was definitely ripped from Inkheart. I don't know if... Did you guys read those books? I know there was a movie, but I was like way past that stage to actually see if it was good. I'm sure it wasn't. But there is definitely a scene at the beginning of that book where like a guy just like stands out in the rain and it's like really spooky. And this was not my original work. Let's just be clear there. Anyways, run downstairs, see letters. They read Mallory's first. This is also like all in cursive with like no space in between the different letters because why bother? You know, it's cursive, we're fancy. Dear Miss Mallory, we are proud to announce you have been accepted at Hivani School of Wand Wizardry for Girls. Signed, Professor... I think it's Vivum, but my cursive loops are just like way too intense to decipher. The other girls read their letters. They all had the same letter. Then they opened the letter for all of them. It read, Dear girls, I am a teacher at your new school. I left you girls your school supplies and your Vidin powder to help you to your train. Just pour it over your heads. I am on my way to the school now with the headmaster. See you soon on September 10th. Miss Norton. In hindsight, I for one would be thoroughly disturbed if the like principal or headmaster of my school was just creepily lurking outside of my building with my 2 other underage friends running off with my mother. But that's fine. September 10th, that's tomorrow, said Mallory. The train leaves at midnight. They looked at the clock. It was 11:45. Ashley quickly poured the Vidin powder over them and their stuff. And if any of you say that this is just flu powder, fuck off. Okay, this is completely original work. Was that aggressive? Yes. And it was intended to be, so. The next minute, they were all sitting next to a short girl with dirty blonde hair. She wore a plaid uniform, just like them. They didn't notice they wore those. Hi, I'm Haley. Who are you? Haley asked. I'm Ashley. This is Mallory. This is Grace. My mom is a professor here. Cool, said Haley. We are all just like very quickly coming to terms with this situation. Soon they arrived at Hivani. It was a large castle, larger than Hogwarts probably. J.K. Rowling, I'm waiting for your response. The four girls walked in the crowds of first years, led by Professor Winvin and another teacher. Hivani was the most amazing school. Inside was full of dorms and large rooms as the magic spread above their heads. Soon they entered a grand dining room with 5 tables for the different houses. They each made a line, and one by one were put into one of the following houses. I'm actually very proud of these. Tag yourself in the comments below as to which house you're in. Sparkle Fairies, Dolphin Days, Twinkle Pixies, and Ruby Roses. Iconic. No comments. First, it was Haley's turn. A teacher then put her in front of a crystal ball. She then took her pulse and said, "Sparkle Fairy!" You know, 8-year-old me really got the gist of what the Soaring Hat scene was and was like, how can I make it just a little bit more uncomfortable? Haley walked down to the table of the Sparkle Fairies. Susan Jones. Not to be confused with Susan Bones. Obviously. Susan Jones was put in Dolphin Days. Mallory, last name, I think that's her real last name, so I'm not going to actually read that out loud. She didn't ask for this. Mallory slowly walked up to the chair where she was sorted. Sparkle Fairy! Mallory sat down next to Haley. Ashley Norton. Ashley walked up to the teacher. Another Norton. Sparkle Fairy! Grace. Last name. Again, not trying to dox people for my 8-year-old fanfic. Grace walked up to the red velvet seat and sat down. Sparkle Fairy! Grace walked happily to the empty seat next to Ashley. I'm still having a really hard time visualizing this because they walk up to the crystal ball, but the crystal ball doesn't announce which house they're from. Their pulse does. And I'm like, is it based on how excited they are? I really want to know what my thought process was. Chapter 2, Susan Jones. As the friends ate their food, a voice yelled, "Norton!" I probably shouldn't commit to that voice. They turned around. It was Susan Jones. "What are you doing hanging out with the wrong people? My mom made a mistake putting you there. You don't want to be friends with the wrong people," said Susan. I don't know where I got my inspiration for this character. "Leave her alone." Oh, wait, this is Haley. "Leave her alone," said Haley. From that day on, Susan was noted their arch enemy. The bar was so low for drama when I was 8, and I love it. Soon, a 7th-year Sparkle Fairy led them up to the Sparkle Fairy common room. Inside was a fireplace with 2 couches and a chair in front of it. This place has fucking everything. It also had a small library in a corner with a red armchair. They also had other cool things. That's something I decided to write in there. I couldn't be bothered to list off the other cool things, apparently. They walked upstairs into their bedrooms. There were 10 beds per room. The beds were the most pretty beds. Haley, Mallory, Grace, Ashley set up their beds and belonging. Ashley ignores Susan. She thinks that since a lot of people from your family has gone there, you should hang out with people like you instead of us, said Haley. "Well, I'm not going to let her ruin my year," said Ashley. "Yeah, just because she wants me to be super cool and popular, I'm not going to do that because I'm cool and built different." The girls went to bed at 11 o'clock. That's actually pretty scandalous by my 8-year-old standards and by my 23-year-old standards. They ate breakfast and came to their first class, Charms. Dolphin Day and Sparkle Fairy first years sat and waited for Professor Diviny to start. I really didn't know how to come up with names when I was 8 because these all sound the same. It's like Vivum, Divibibibib, and Susan Jones. That's what I got. And the rest are all real people that I went to school with. "Hello, children. I am Professor Divani. I am your new charms professor. Does anyone know a charm?" Susan raised her hand. "Susan?" Susan took out her wand. "Vicuna!" said Susan, aiming her wand at Grace, and sparks came out of her wand. Grace's face began to get green. Professor Devani really set her up for that, and who can blame her? Like, there were no limitations on what she could do. Miss Jones, how disappointing. Come along, Grace. I'll take you to the hospital wing, said Professor Devani. She got what she deserved, said Susan nastily. Ashley held out her wand and walked slowly up to Susan. Oh, gosh, what is... Anobulus. Oh, shit. Without even knowing that magic existed the day before, I am on my shit. Susan flew to the ground. She got up quick as she could. Susan held out her wand. Exandria, said Susan as bright red sparks came towards Ashley. Then a mad yell from behind said, Attention, Miss Jones and Miss Norton. Tonight, my office. It was Professor Devani. I gotta say, he got back real quick. They sat quietly for the rest of class. Next was Miss Norton's potion class. As most of you already know, I'm Professor Norton. How would they know that? Today we will do a simple potion called the Invisibility Potion. Use the ingredients at your seat. They went through the steps of the potion and went to several other classes. It's like I'm there. Susan and Ashley then went to Professor Devani's office. He had a lantern with him. I am very disappointed in both of you. Tonight, you help me find anybody strutting in the dark or anything out of place. Here is a lantern and a note for the teachers. They walked outside the classroom. This is all your fault, said nasty Susan. At the very least, much less homophobic than J.K. Rowling's version. And that's like all the credit I'll give myself. They heard someone running through the corridor. They quietly ran to see, and Headmaster talking nervously to Professor Osmond. What if someone has tried to steal it? Said the headmaster. It is still there and untouched, Headmaster, said Professor Osmond. The two professors went down the corridor as Susan and Ashley followed them to find a golden stone on a cushion behind a matter of obstacle courses. Let's be real. Sorcerer's Stone was protected by a bunch of obstacle courses, and they had it coming. Chapter 3. The Vindeliant. I'm no longer allowed to make up words. The next day, Ashley told her friends about the other night. That must be something that holds a lot of dark lost powers. They're called Vindeliants. Okay. I feel like we're skipping over like a lot of questions here. Like, was this just out in the open where anyone could view it? Were we just like able to plainly see? Because honestly, if someone was gonna like use it, I think they had it coming. And like even more than the Sorcerer's Stone. Like Susan didn't have any thoughts about this. Ashley didn't have any thoughts about this. We just like, it's just the next day and we're just gonna move on. Okay. If the Dark Wizard is able to get it, they will get all the powers inside. If it gets broken, the stone is destroyed. I mean, makes sense. What are the dark powers? Well then why haven't they destroyed it yet? Asked Mallory. Mallory asking the real questions here. Probably if it breaks, the powers can escape, said Haley. How do you know all this? Said Ashley. Also, very valid question. Books. Let's go visit Grace in the hospital wing, said Ashley. I want to know how Susan Jones already knew on day 1 how to permanently maim Grace. They walked to the hospital wing and found Grace lying in the bed with green skin. Hi, guys, said Grace. Hi, Grace. Feeling any better? Asked Haley. A little. They talked for a few minutes. Then Haley, Mallory, and Ashley left for divination with Susan's mom. This is just like straight up nepotism at this school, I guess. They all sat at tables with a crystal ball in the center of the table. Welcome to divination. I am Professor Jones. Today you will see beyond, said Susan's mom. She had curly red hair, just like Susan. She wore round glasses and a dark green cloak. Ashley, 8-year-old Ashley, you are going to get sued for this blatant plagiarism. Today, we will do a simple activity. We will look inside the globe one at a time and think of something. Then you will see what you are thinking inside the crystal ball. Haley made a ballerina dance inside the globe. Mallory made a full moon appear, and Ashley thought of Grace, but that didn't show. Instead, the golden Vinderel appeared on the red velvet cushion. Then someone grabbed it and the image disappeared. Very spooky. Haley didn't stop staring at the crystal ball. After class, they went up to the common room for free time. How could this have happened? Asked Mallory. Potato, said Haley, making a warm fire in the fireplace. Oh, thanks, Haley. I wasn't thinking about it, said Ashley. They all said nothing else for moments. It was Grace who broke the silence. I'm back! Of course, Grace did not know anything about the Vinderel. We didn't tell her when we went to the hospital. They soon told her everything. Wow, Ashley, do you think you saw the future? Asked Grace. I mean, apparently I just, saw it, which I've already seen it. I don't know how this is indicating the future or anything bad happening. But, I hadn't really thought about that. Months passed as they thought of the dark wizard with powers from the darkest times. How could they possibly save it? What if she did think about it? What if she was wrong? I mean, I'm looking at this now, being diagnosed with anxiety and just learning how to confront my irrational thoughts. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I really would, if I was in a magical school and I saw just an image of a stone and a ball, just think that some dark wizard was coming after me. Haley found a dark wizarding book on Professor Osmond's desk. Haley used a cloning charm to get the book. Then she took the book to the library to meet with Ashley, Mallory, and Grace. Sussy. Why did I just fucking say sussy? Chapter 4, The Plan. They sat down at a table between the bookshelves full of legends and monsters. Osmond had this, said Haley. It was no surprise a book as dark as this. Professor Osmond was the teacher everyone feared. Haley began to read through the pages. There is only one way to make it to the Vinland of Hilvani. You must go to the hidden temple of Olmeg. No one has made it through the challenges they faced. Wait. So the obstacle courses that we saw earlier in the book are unrelated to this series of obstacle course we have to do at the hidden temple of Olmeg. And this is definitely based on the, what's the show called, Hidden Temple? Did anyone else, obviously people watch this show, where it was I think it was Legends of the Hidden Temple, Olmeg, where it was a reality show where they would have children be terrorized by running through a temple, and half of them would get kidnapped by quasi-indigenous people. Am I making this up? This is a real thing, right? That I'm blatantly copying? Okay. No one has made it past the temple to receive what they truly need, read Haley. How are we going to make it before anybody else does? Asked Mallory. Who would do it if nobody ever made it? Asked Ashley. Exactly, said Haley. Exactly is spelled EXZACTLY. Fabulous. Perhaps it has non-magic events. No one magical could ever do anything but magic, said Haley. True. Wizards can't do push-ups. This plan was beginning to make sense. I'd say so, yeah. They decided to pack and leave before dawn. They ran quickly to their magical creatures class with Professor Osmond. After the large feast, Haley packed her spell books, wand, potion kit, magical survival kit, and her clothes. It's a pretty good packing list, I'd say. Mallory packed her spell books, wand, broomstick, and her clothes. Grace packed just her clothes. I love how I felt the need to specify, one, that they're bringing clothes on this trip. And I really gave Grace the short end of the stick. First she gets physically assaulted and is in the hospital, and she doesn't even get to bring any cool shit on our fun expedition, but whatever. Ashley packed her wand, broomstick, and a never-ending supply of food, and her Vidin powder. They went to sleep early. They were woken by Mallory, who was completely ready. Classic Mallory. Wake up, giving Grace a hard shake. just Grace. We hate Grace. I don't know where this is coming from. I think Grace was my friend when I was in 3rd grade. Oh, Grace, I'm so sorry. They got ready as quickly as possible. What if we get expelled? Asked Ashley. Then, all of a sudden, another Haley, Ashley, Mallory, and Grace. What? Oh no. I think I see what I'm trying to do. Oh, we won't. These clones are twice as smart as we are. I'm very concerned about the magical ability to make clones twice as smart as me. Because what am I doing here if I can just make that, you know? Anyways, we're not gonna get expelled because apparently we have clones, robot clones that are super smart. They grabbed their trunks and came into the common room as quiet as possible. You shouldn't be here, said a quiet voice. It was their friend, Rachel. Have we heard of Rachel at any point in the story before? No. Chapter 5, Escape. I'm really sorry about this, said Ashley. I really just had to steal that iconic line from Hermione, didn't I? Holding up her wand. Oh, Denna! Suddenly, Rachel turned to solid ice. Where did you learn that? Asked Haley. Valid question. I learned from my mom for emergencies, said Ashley. Okay, so I feel weird criticizing fake mom because I know real mom would have been checking up on me. But fake me really should have talked to fake mom about this situation at some point. Harry Potter had an excuse because he didn't have any real sources of authority in his life that he could go to besides Hagrid, who didn't believe him. It's questionable in this case. Why have we not talked to anyone about this situation? Why have we assumed that we have to do this? What is this dark wizard I keep talking about? We have not established the lore. I'm really just asking Harry Potter fans to fill in the gaps at this point. They re-grabbed their trunks and put in a large box. Shrinkity, said Grace. The box then became small enough to fit in your pocket. Mallory slipped it away. I'm glad that this thing with Rachel didn't really amount to anything. I'm sure she's fine. She's solid ice, but she can walk it off. So Mallory and Ashley got on their broomstick, and Haley and Grace sat behind them. Romantic? I love it. Ready? Asked Ashley. Everyone nodded nervously. Then they were off. They smiled. As they looked up at the moon, they screamed of joy. After an hour, the moon began to set. They landed in a clearing surrounded by trees. When they landed, Mallory took out the box that held their trunks. "Aw, shrew!" Then the box came back to its normal size. They unpacked their things and Haley put up the tent. Inside, it looks exactly like my house, said Haley. They walked inside the tent. Haley was right. There were 3 floors and 1 finished basement. Oh, shit. They got a pool table in there. There were 4 bedrooms, a kitchen, a sitting room, and some bathrooms. This will be listed on Zillow for $2 million. Haley, how did you get this? Asked Ashley. Well, I bought it at the wizarding store, said Haley. A queen who gets shit done. Honestly, as the YN protagonist, Ashley, I haven't done shit in this thing. Haley and Mallory seem to really be carrying the team here. And I'm very disappointed in Grace and myself. You would have had no idea from outside the tent that there was a large mansion. Winter had just arrived, making them very cold. Haley started a fire in the fireplace. Of course she did. Of course she did. Bless her. They sat next to it in silence. Then, all of a sudden, they heard someone walking around nearby. Grace got out her wand and slowly walked outside. It's like, God forbid I have a creative bone in my 8-year-old body to just, like, not do a blatant ripoff from a Harry Potter book. Like, I didn't know that fanfiction existed at that time. I didn't have access to, like, the internet in that sense anyways at this time. Like, that's what makes me so frustrated with this, is like, while writing this, I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, This is all original. This is me. I'm a genius. Like, I remember writing this, and I remember like being in class and like doing an exam in like 5 minutes because I had undiagnosed ADHD at the time, and just like writing this instead. And like whenever people would ask about it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like my book. Yeah, it's like whatever. Like it's gonna get published. Like, and like that's why I get frustrated at this, because it's like so earnest. There is no self-awareness here. Relax, Grace. I am no foe, said a voice. A figure slowly and calmly emerging from the fog. A young girl, just about their age, carried a wand. I mean, thank God, otherwise this might have seemed a little predatory. Chapter 6. Help. I am Emily blank. Yeah, Emily, this is definitely another person that I knew in real life when I was 8. One of the greatest witches of all time. Love the self-confidence. Another figure came out. I am Samantha. Again, I included their real last name. I am Samantha. Best broom and broom flyer. The best broom, said Samantha. Grace let them inside their tent. Yeah, you know, if someone says they're the best broom, come on in. How did you find us? asked Haley. We are advanced with divination, said Emily. We have come to help, said Samantha. Seems all right to me. Do you know how to get to Olmeg's hidden temple? asked Grace. Silence fell, and Emily slowly spoke up. Yes, we own the temple. You bring us? asked Mallory. That is why we're here, said Samantha. Oh, sweet. I love that the owners of this obstacle course just approached us to invite us in. That makes us way easier. Help will always be given for those who need it. Ashley thought that sounded made up. But it made so much sense. The temple is still quite far, but Samantha buys all the fastest models, said Emily. Samantha took out a time swatter 3000. She handed it to Grace. Then she got out a ground dryer 64. Okay, not as epic as a time swatter 3000, I'd imagine. She handed it to Haley. Everyone stared at Samantha. She just came to flex on us. She owns a temple and a bunch of brooms, and she owns it. She had a Vision Sighter 2000. The fastest model yet, said Samantha. Samantha and Emily made a small hut that was bewitched, just like Haley's. I'm sure we had room in our mansion to host them, but okay. The next morning, Grace had made breakfast. Emily and Samantha had joined them. The temple can be very difficult to enter, said Samantha. There are 3 tasks you are competing. It's like you know, right? Like I don't have to point this out. You know. The games are the moat, the Steps of Stone Curse, and the temple games. All right, so Goblet of Fire and the Hidden Temple. Great. There are temple guards, spells, and many other things to do, said Emily. Shit, there's many other things to do. They had packed their trunks, including Emily and Samantha's. They all mounted their broomstick, and they were of leaving nothing but the forest behind. Oh, I think I meant to say off. And they were off, leaving nothing but the forest behind. And I thought that was like a really epic line to leave off on. Okay, my handwriting changes at this point. So I'm thinking this might be where 14-year-old me takes the reign. Actually, no. I take that back. We're not there yet. I don't think. Because I switched from writing from paper to pen a little bit later on. Okay, we'll see. I'm going to see if this sounds like 8-year-old me or 14, 15-year-old me. We'll figure it out. Chapter 7, Olmeg's Temple. Their plan was to fly at least 7 miles before camping. Honestly, that doesn't sound that far. Like, they could walk that. Why? Okay. Finally, they had stopped near a lake to camp. We have 10 more miles to go. Who said that? I don't know. I don't say. Everyone unpacked again, while Haley put up her tent and Emily put up her hut. Grace thought of something that she should have asked so long ago. What is Olmeg? A valid question, Grace. What is Olmeg? What is the Legend of Temple reality show that I'm thinking of? Please tell me that it actually existed. Why did we not think this through before we went on this mission? Let's see. Samantha stopped unpacking. It was as if the gray sky had bewitched her. So it's like not a bad line. I'll take that. Silence fell. A cold wind blew onto their faces as snow began to fall. Olmeg had been mentioned as a cursed man in the temple. A man who was cursed because he stole the temple. It was really our ancestors. Our ancestors turned him to stone and ran off, said Emily. Okay. So we've got like some indigenous justice working into the plot. Very socially conscious of 8-year-old me. I really doubt that this will have the nuance necessary to explore those issues, but we'll see. Because I also think I only wrote 8 more pages, so we'll see. Ashley had made a special feast in honor of Christmas Eve. She served roasted chicken, salad, small sandwiches, fries, apples, ice cream, cake. Okay. I'd be down for the fries. The apples just seems like you're really screwing the apples over by presenting ice cream and cake. I don't know what I was trying to do there. Roasted chicken. I mean, I don't even eat meat now, so I feel like I'm not a good evaluator of this. They gave each other presents because on Christmas they'd be at Emily and Samantha's temple. Aww. When we were packing our escape, we thought through what we would give each other for Christmas beforehand. That's actually really cute. Emily had given them each a small stone that would help them in the temple. Samantha had given them a Vision Sighter 2000. That night, they slept in Haley's hut together. Love that. When they heard a sound of movement, Samantha peered through the window to see 7 strange characters outside. This is the source, said one of them. Ooh, this is dramatic. Very dramatic. Chapter 8, The 7. Also, I was wrong. This is not High School Me yet, I'm pretty sure. Because this seems way too earnest to be High School Me. Who are they? Grace only just dared to ask. Oh no. The 7 Galaxy Godias. Godias. Guys have come. They must have tracked us down, Samantha replied. What will they do to us? Asked Mallory with a scared voice. They will take you back to the castle they live in, and most likely brainwash your mind and use you as their slaves. Ashley thought this was just too much. Current me has to agree with 8-year-old me. Like, is that necessary? Do we have to be your child slave? We had to stop Professor Osmond from stealing the Vinland of Hilvani. With a sudden crunch, the silence was broken. The girls snapped their attention back to Grace. Grace had taken Ashley's never-ending supply of food and was snacking on an oversized apple. Grace, that's so not cool. They are going to most likely brainwash you and use you as their slaves. Okay. This definitely has to be written by 14-year-old me. I refuse to believe that 8-year-old me would write that earnestly. Okay. I think from This is the Source, and we go into Chapter 8, The 7, I think this has to be High School Me. Because then it goes into like the handwriting's clearly different after that. Okay. So, if this gets like bad in like if it gets like bad and not in a way where it's like so bad it's good way in like the next couple pages, like that's why. Like 14-year-old me really thought I was doing something hard-hitting here, and I apologize. It's probably just gonna be really cringy from here on out. Okay, so Grace bites into an apple. Hey, When you say most likely, does that mean they're here for another reason? Mallory asked. Emily and Samantha glanced, unsure at each other, before answering. It is possible they heard of my amazing hut party, but I wouldn't count on it. The girls could hear the footsteps approaching with rising haste. Alright, 14-year-old me has no excuse for this typo. And also, yes, that is 100% me trying to be funny at this point. Then Ashley thought of a brilliant idea. Grace, give me that apple. Grace shook her head hastily. She was infamous for her love of oversized apples. The girls knew what they had to do. With the flick of her wand, Mallory shouted, "Oh, Tina!" Like Rachel, Grace had frozen stiff. We had no choice, said Mallory. Actually, we had more apples, Emily interjected with a shrug of her shoulders. Ashley grabbed the apples. Stepping out of the hut with a quick breath, she threw the apple as hard as she could at the shadowy figures. One fell to the ground immediately. The remaining 6 spotted Ashley and strutted towards her. But before they could reach her, the ground began to shake. I have a harder time laughing at this because I'm pretty sure like 15-year-old me was like trying to continue it, but also like trying to be a little shit and like be funny on purpose. And I don't want to give like 14, 15-year-old me like any credit because definitely doesn't deserve that. Before they could reach her, the ground began to shake. A voice could be heard in the darkness. Oh no, the ground dryer 64 with built-in retina display and a fully operational compass in the handle. Jesus Christ. Those were the figure's last words. The girls watched as the man sank into the ground. You're dead now, the shadows charged once again. Hang on, Emily shouted. Ashley turned around to see Emily dragging Grace's frozen body. With a great heave, Grace went flying through the air, knocking over their assailants like dominoes. Stunned silence fell, and they all felt more confused than ever. As do I. I have no idea what happened in this encounter. Like, you would think 14-year-old me would at least be better at, like, describing what is happening, but no. Also, I'm fully, like, Rudy Giuliani posture, just like... Chapter 9, the preparation. Let's see, how much further do we have? Okay, I wrote... Spoiler alert, we have one more page after this, so let's see how far I got. Who were those guys? What happened? Haley shouted. Emily remained calm as she placed Grace next to a radiator. Samantha sighed. Somehow those people found out you were going to the temple. Obviously, they were working for whoever is after the Vinderel. Osmond. Ashley knew it was him. Out of all the people she knew, he had the strongest dark powers. Not to mention a mustache that all students feared. I mean, I'd kind of be into the mustache now, but, you know. It was the ultimate sign of dark magic. It was the one warning her mother had given her. I assume to the mustache? Or about the professor? Did everyone know the professor was evil? I don't know. Even 14-year-old me couldn't keep things consistent. We have to go to the temple. Now, Mallory explained. With a crack, Grace fell in a puddle of water. They packed their bags. And that's all I wrote. I did number until page 35. So I had ambitions to write the next page, but I never did. So I guess we'll never know really what happens there. But I can imagine if you've read the Harry Potter books and seen The Legend of the Hidden Temple on Nickelodeon in 2003, you can kind of guess how it goes from there. And one thing I think I can take away from this is that I was never quite as talented as I thought I was, and I continue to prove that to this day. But I do appreciate that this was a very women-centric book. Definitely passed the Bechdel test. You know, even had some potential for exploring Indigenous exploitation, sort of class differences. You know, like I really could have taken this a lot of different places if 8-year-old me had just sort of been more aware of what was needed in literature at the time. But, you know, J.K. Rowling wasn't aware of these issues, so I can't really expect 8-year-old me to be aware of these issues either. So, thank you for listening to me read this cringy little book to you for as long as I did. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If this gets one like, I didn't think of what I would promise with one like. That's what you get.